Point Park basketball closes a massive series, wildcard weekend wraps up, and a big-time coach makes his leave. It's time to come on down to Pioneer Sideline. Good evening and welcome to Pioneer Sideline. I'm your host, Bryn Reese, back for another week of exciting sports news. To start, Point Park women's basketball had their big one versus West Virginia State on Saturday at home. Entering the game, the Pioneers and the Yellow Jackets were in close quarters within the MEC standings. Throughout the first half, the Pioneers took a lot of single-digit leads, and time after time, the Yellow Jackets fought back to sting that deficit. We saw some patchy shooting from the field in the first half, but the Pioneers came into quarter three with much greater intentions, shooting 50% and creeping into that double-digit lead. A relentless full-court press from WVSU opened up some doors for the Yellow Jackets, but 4 double-digit performances from the Pioneers resulted in a Point Park win, 76-65. Alexis Giles had quite the night with a season-high 22 points, and joining her in the double figures club was Ari Bleda, Emma Pavlik, and Camille Foltz. Now, this 11-point Fairmont State loss could arguably be traced to their free throw struggles. The team went 45% from the line to miss 11 total free throws. But the Yellow Jackets stayed true to their pressing defense and were able to capitalize heavy off Point Park possessions, forcing 28 turnovers and combining to score 32 points off these turnovers alone. Now, the Pioneers walk away with their first MEC home win, and they aim to ride this high into tomorrow against a very well-equipped Fairmont State team, a team that's currently at the top of the MEC with a 6-3 conference record. When asked how the Pioneers are preparing for this big matchup, Coach Scarborough shared that the team is trying their best to focus on the game at hand. He said, quote, "We watched some film and are trying to prepare our kids not to psych themselves out before the game even starts. It has probably been our biggest challenge so far," end quote. Tune into the big game tomorrow at 1 p.m. to see if the ladies can keep the ball rolling or if the Falcon pressure will be too much to handle. Now, switching gears to men's hoops, Caden Warner set it off in the new year to help Point Park men's team earn their own win over the Yellow Jackets. Warner dropped a clean 30-point game, shooting 45% from the field and 47% from three. The Yellow Jackets led for most of the first half, shooting 52% and having 9 successful visits to the free throw line. The Pioneers went on an 8-3 run in the final minute 30 in the half, cutting WVSU's lead to only 2 points. The Yellow Jackets held on to this lead well into the second half, and the Pioneers began to kind of struggle offensively. However, 6 straight points from Warner with 7 minutes remaining gave life to the Pioneers. Down to the wire, tied score and 1 minute remaining, it all came down to a battle of free throws. Yellow Jacket Miguel Martinez went 1 for 2 at the line after a foul from Nazareth Fisher, and the fate of the night was ultimately determined by another foul to send Warner to the free throw line with 23 seconds on the clock. 2 makes gave the Pioneers the 1-point edge heading into the final possession of the game. And with less than 15 seconds remaining, the Yellow Jackets missed not 1, but 2 shots, followed by a brutal turnover and a last-chance defensive stop by Point Park freshman Aiden Miller. The Pioneers closed the afternoon up 76-75, going 47% from the three-point line and really solidifying their long-range shooting. The men resume play tomorrow to face a number 1 ranked Fairmont State team of their own, one that is 7-1 in the MEC and 12-2 overall. Tip-off is at 3 p.m. at home. Now, this week in Point Park sports, we have even more hoops, of course, with these 2 Fairmont State games tomorrow at 1 and 3. Then on Saturday, we have a busy day with Point Park basketball on the road to face Frostburg State in Maryland, and indoor track and field travels to Kent State to compete in the Judd Logan Memorial Meet. Get all the news and more on PointParkSports.com and come back here next week for your weekly Point Park Sports Update. After the break, more on what's new in the sports world. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Now we have Ryan Quinn with the Pittsburgh Sports Update. Ryan?
Thanks, Bryn. The Pitt women's basketball team tied the biggest comeback in Division I women's history. This occurred last Sunday as the Panthers took on the SMU Mustangs in ACC play. It was a 32-point comeback where in the second quarter the score was 46-14. The Panthers rallied in the third, holding the Mustangs scoreless while scoring 28 points of their own. In the fourth, it was more of the same, outscoring SMU 26-10. This marks the first ACC win for Pitt while stopping a 3-game skid. The Panthers have not had their best season, their record being 9-9, and losing out on 4 players, but tying a record will be a huge highlight on the season. Their next game is against 21st ranked NC State on Thursday. The Penguins placed Evgeny Malkin on IR last Sunday, ending his streak of 209 consecutive games played, which is the 12th longest in team history. This, along with being 1-5 in January, 3 of those losses, either happening in a shootout or overtime, has not been the season that the Pen fans wanted to see. Their next game is tonight against the Seattle Kraken at 7 p.m. Most Pittsburgh fans were watching the wild card game last Saturday as the Steelers went to round 3 with the Baltimore Ravens. Pittsburgh was looking to break a 7-year drought of no playoff wins and a 4-game losing streak in the playoffs. However, it was more of the same old Steelers when they get to January. It was a slow start on offense. The defense was burnt by what seems to be the unstoppable backfield of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. The Red game itself got 299 rushing yards, the most the Steelers ever let up in a playoff game. 2 touchdowns from Russell Wilson's throws did not do much as the Ravens moved on to the divisional round with a score of 28-14. The Steelers now look to the offseason, wondering what changes they need to make to have a shot of winning their 7th ring. Now I'll be passing things over to Gabe Ebersole for our weekly NFL recap. Gabe?
Thanks, Ryan. Now it's officially a wrap on Wild Card Weekend. Time for the recap. Let's look at who punched their ticket to the divisional round. After going down 6-0 in the first, Houston drove before half. The Chargers' D would give up a 99-yard touchdown drive after holding strong for 25 minutes plus, a field goal before half. But Saturday's story was the Texans tormenting Justin Herbert. He would throw 4 INTs after throwing 3 all season, a total he matched in the final 15 minutes and 13 seconds of game time. A pick 6 in a must-score drive, followed up with another pick, all but killed any chances the Chargers had at rebounding, and even after Ladd McConkey, who posted a rookie playoff record 197 yards for the game, recorded a deep score, the extra point went as bad as humanly possible. From that point forward, it was all Houston the rest of the way, Joe Mixon scoring and eclipsing the 100-yard mark on this run. 32-12 victory, the Texans have earned the right to challenge Kansas City next weekend at Arrowhead. The Sunday slate started with the Buffalo Bills rolling through Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. After giving up a long touchdown pass on the game's opening drive, the AFC's number 2 seed dominated the remaining 57 minutes in every facet. The run game, over 200 yards on the day, 120 of those ticks and their first touchdown coming from the league's leader, James Cook. 5 Bills recorded at least 25 receiving yards, with Josh Allen totaling 272 and a pair of long touchdowns in an extremely efficient outing. The defense recorded no turnovers, but allowed only 58 yards in the second half and got the ball back on downs twice. A total team showing Buffalo next hosted the Ravens in a divisional MVP showdown for likely their final home game of the season. With a lot of starters fresh off a rest against the Giants, the Eagles flew past Green Bay Sunday afternoon. It started out the gate, as Green Bay would hand over the ball on the opening kickoff, and Jahan Dotson would cash in the game's first touchdown just 3 plays later. Lincoln Financial was a house of horrors for Jordan Love, who could only muster 212 yards to go with his 3 picks on 35 dropbacks, and no pass catcher cracked 50 yards on the day for the team. With the defense setting the tone, the Eagles complemented that with a heavy dose of running. The 2K rushing club's newest member, Saquon Barkley, carried 25 times off his rest week, racking up 119 yards in his effort. He and Philadelphia don't even need another 6 at the end, and the Packers take the L to start the season and end their season to the Eagles, going down 22-10 in this one. The Sunday night game held the most fireworks, coming down to the final snap and only featuring 2 punts. Rookie wonder Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders migrated south to Tampa, where they would give up a field goal and the ball on downs early, before Daniels finds an open man despite the late shot for the open 6. But Mike Evans would tie it up at 10 apiece right before half from in close. The back-and-forth matchup seemed to be tilting to Tampa in the second. The Bucs would force a short field goal before a Bucky Irving touchdown put them up. And with a first and goal from the 1-yard line, the defense stands strong 4 plays in a row and forces turnover on downs. But then disaster struck as Baker Mayfield, who played an otherwise immaculate game, loses control very deep in his half of the field. The Commanders wouldn't waste the red zone opportunity this time, and even though Tampa Bay mustered a field goal to tie temporarily, Zane Gonzalez fixed his hair once or twice before he doinked in the kill shot at the buzzer. Washington continues the dream season as they attempt to push the agenda against the top-seeded Lions in Detroit. For just the second time in 105 years, the NFL relocated a playoff game to a neutral site. This meant Arizona hosted a playoff game for the first time since 2016. Unfortunately for any Cardinals fans hate watching, the Rams would bring their A-plus game in this one. The signs showed early. The Vikings jumped offsides on 4th and 1 to give the Rams a free conversion on the opening drive, and Matt Stafford capped it with a touchdown pass to Kyren Williams. Meanwhile, Sam Darnold would be brought to the ground 9 times for negative 82 yards, including a scoop and score coming just 2 plays after a TJ Hawkinson fumble was overturned. The Rams would score another touchdown right before half on a well-executed 2-minute drill, and their lengthy field goal drive after getting a stop to open the second half effectively ended the game with 25 minutes left. The Vikings' 14-3 campaign ends in immense disappointment, 27-9, while LA turns their attention to making certain Saquon Barkley doesn't run for 255 yards in their rematch on Sunday. That is a look at a truly wild card. Watching the defending champs kick off the divisional round Saturday at Arrowhead against the Texans will open the week. That's all from me this week. Back to you at the desk, Bryn.
Thanks, guys. After the break, more on what's big in the sports world. Stay tuned. Take them, cue them, open their mics.
Today marked the 1-year anniversary of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette strike.
Point Park University just hosted a campus-wide meeting.
Plans for the rapid transit bus line are not set to conclude until 2025.
Welcome back. Now we have Ronan Lancaster with an update on a big-time NFL coach change. Ronan?
Thanks, Bryn. On January 13th, it was announced that head coach Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys will be parting ways. Two sides are reportedly not able to reach an agreement on a long-term contract, and because of this, McCarthy will start to pursue other opportunities. All of this comes after a very disappointing year for the Dallas Cowboys. With a finish of 7-10, the Cowboys missed the playoffs, marking their worst season since 2020 when McCarthy took over. Under McCarthy's tenure, the Cowboys made the playoffs in the 2021, 22, and 23 seasons. However, in all of those playoff tries, they have only one playoff win to show for it. In McCarthy's 5 seasons as the Cowboys head coach, he had a record of 49-35. This will mark a new chapter of the Cowboys' book as Jerry Jones now looks for his new head coach to run his team and achieve his aspirations of getting back to a championship-winning franchise. Next, Edmi Idalis is here reporting on the Spanish Super Cup. Edmi?
Thanks, Ronan. This past Sunday, FC Barcelona won the Spain Super Cup against Real Madrid, becoming the most successful club in the history of the Spain Super Cup with 15 titles. The match ended with a score of 5-2 with 9 total yellow cards and 1 red card issued to the Barcelona keeper in the 56th minute. Real Madrid opened the score in the 5th minute through Kylian Mbappe. Barcelona then proceeded to come from behind with back-to-back goals. The first came from 17-year-old prodigy Lamine Yamal in the 22nd minute. Eduardo Camavinga then chopped down Robert Lewandowski in the box, resulting in a penalty kick that was converted by the Polish striker in the 36th minute. Barcelona continued to build on their lead with goals from Rafinha and Alejandro Balde rounding out the first half. Real Madrid then went into the second half with hopes of rebuilding, but were quickly met with the Barcelona captain Rafinha completing the brace in the 48th minute. In the 56th minute, goalkeeper Wojciech Szczesny charged out of the box and swept Kylian Mbappe off his feet, resulting in Barcelona being dropped to 10 men. Real Madrid's Rodrigo stepped up to take the free kick and smashed it home, to give the boys in white their second goal of the day. Despite being down a man, Barcelona's defense held strong. The game ended 5-2 in favor of Barcelona, resulting in manager Hansi Flick's first trophy with the club. That's all for me. Now to Matt Palangi reporting on Sideline's NCAA football playoffs brackets challenge. Matt?
Thanks, Edmee. Over break, some Sideline crew members played in a bracket challenge, and it's coming down to the final game. But first, let's look at the eliminated brackets. 5 of the 9 brackets created all chose Oregon, who ended up falling to a Big Ten opponent, The Ohio State University, in the second round with a final score of 41-21. 2 other brackets coming from Peyton and Connor, who had unique winners. Connor had Indiana, who got kicked out early by Notre Dame in the first round, and Peyton chose Texas, who just lost to Ohio State. Now for the final 2 remaining, starting with producer Jake Bell. Jake currently has a perfect bracket through 10 games, which leads to his championship pick of Notre Dame versus Ohio State, picking Notre Dame to win. If Notre Dame beats the Buckeyes, Jake will win the bracket challenge. But he faces one challenge, and that's his fellow co-producer, me. I chose Penn State to lose to Boise State in the second round, so my bracket is not perfect, but I had every other result correct and the championship matchup correct. I ended up picking Ohio State to beat Notre Dame, so if Ohio State wins, I get 300 points and win the bracket challenge. So Jake, good luck to you as we look to hold the crown in Sideline's first bracket challenge. More bracket challenges on Sideline to come soon. That's all for me. Back to you at the desk, Bryn.
Thanks, Matt. When we come back, we discuss the rest of the NFL playoffs in our case of the week. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The wildcard round of the NFL season has come to a close, and we are now down to the final 8. I'm here with Gabe, Ryan, and Ronan to discuss what we expect from the rest of the playoffs. So we're going to kind of go game by game here. We're going to start with Chiefs-Texans in the AFC. What's our predictions? We'll start with Gabe.
Okay, so I believe the Texans have 0% chance of winning this game, and I can point to a couple reasons why. All season, the most important down in football is third down. Every team remaining in the playoffs, besides Los Angeles, which we'll get to in a second, is top 10 in third down defense and offense. The Texans are bottom 10 in both of those stats. So they don't win the most important down. It's hard to stay on the field. It's hard to get people off the field when that's happening. So for that reason, I think that they're out of the picture. They also have been trending down, which is something you don't want. They've been taking injuries later the season's gone on, and KC has been gaining players back from injury. Therefore, they're going to be the hotter team coming into this, and not to mention they're the better team coming into this. They're at home. So for every reason, I think this is the Chiefs' games to lose. For the next game, I'm going to jump out of the AFC and go to the other 1-4 seed matchup, and I'm going to look at the Rams because I already talked about them a little bit. But I also think the Rams have no chance at winning, and the reason for that would be once again, bottom 12 team in third down offense and defense. They're rematching the Eagles, who they got blown out by already this year. They gave up 255 rushing yards to Saquon Barkley. Their run defense averages 5 yards a carry, and the Eagles run the ball the most in the NFL.
All right, I'm going to cut you off there. We're going to talk a bit about Rams-Eagles. Ronan, what are your thoughts?
Rams-Eagles?
Yeah.
Okay, I would go with the Eagles easily
Okay.
on this. I don't think the Rams really have a chance. I think the Eagles have a great defense, and I don't think the Rams defense is going to be able to stop that run game.
Okay, Ryan?
I agree with you too. I think Saquon, last time he played him, he had almost way over 200 yards, and I think Saquon's going to have his way with that with the Rams front, and honestly, that opens up the play action, which lets A.J. Brown also have a good big game after reading a book last game. He wants to have a big game this week.
We're going to kind of go back to Texans-Chiefs. Do you guys disagree with Gabe at all on that?
I personally don't. I think the best thing that the Texans have is their defensive line, and I don't think that is going to keep them in the game against the Chiefs. And I personally think that the Texans offense has struggled throughout this season. C.J. Stroud is personally, he's had a sophomore slump. He hasn't been as good as he was last year, so I don't think the Chiefs can mess this one up.
I do think the Chiefs are going to win this. The only thing that worries me is that, I don't know if you guys watch college football, the first round bias has not been friendly to football this year. And honestly, this Chiefs team, they're not as solid as they were the past 2 years. They may only have one loss on the year, but how many of those close games, either they were saved or something dumb happened that went the Chiefs' way. So that's what worries me about the Chiefs, but I still think the Texans are just too banged up. They're on the receiver 3. They just got rid of Deontay Johnson, so they have no other options besides Nico Collins right now. And I think that's the reason why they're going to lose, is because they have no offensive power right now.
Yeah, we're going to keep it in the AFC. I know we have a biased party here, but Ravens-Bills, what's our thoughts on that, Gabe?
Okay, starting off, they already played this season, and it did not go very well for the Bills. Derrick Henry had 200 rushing yards, which that can be for an MVP talk of the two superstar quarterbacks in the matchup. But the Bills, I think, have a chance in this rematch because the way you beat the Ravens isn't on a down-to-down basis, it's by making them turn the ball over and make mistakes. The Bills have the best, by far, turnover differential in the NFL at plus 24. I think that if they can create enough turnovers, that they will find a way to win this game. So because of that, I think they have a chance in this. I think I'm going to go with the upset and pick the Bills.
Okay, right, Ronan?
I don't think it's going to be as big of a, I think it's going to be a shootout or a really close game, but I have the Ravens because this is my reasoning. When they played the Bills, their defense, they had the worst pass defense in the league. And since, I forget what week it is, but they moved Kyle Hamilton back to safety, and since then, their defense has been way better, and they have been, overall, their numbers have been way better. They have the #1 rushing defense in the whole league, so I personally think the Bills are going to have to pass a lot, but I expect it to be a lot closer than when they face in the season, but I got the Ravens.
Okay, Ryan?
I have the Bills. The only reason I'm wearing is purple and black is because the Steelers lost this week, and I made a little friendly wager that will wear the purple and black. But I think Josh Allen is the reason the Bills are going to win this game. Again, you said the Ravens, they're still 30th in the league for passing. Josh Allen, just like how Saquon's going to have his way with the Rams, Josh Allen's going to have way more of his way. Because honestly, out of these two MVP talk, I think Josh Allen deserves the MVP, and he's going to prove it this game that he's MVP of this league. And between that, and you brought up Derrick Henry playing big last time. The Bills' defense from that week to this week is a night and day difference, and they're only playing their best ball now, which is something that the AFC should be worried about. Because, honestly, defenses later this year play their worst ball. Right now, the defense is playing their best ball. And I don't think the Ravens' offense will be able to move as much as they were last time. And I think that momentum is just going to keep Josh going because Josh can be on the field more and more and more. It's just going to wear down the secondary of the Ravens that is already not very good this year.
Yeah. All right, last game, the one I'm most excited for. We got Washington Lions. Who we got for that? What are our thoughts, Gabe?
This game is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. The Lions, what they're bad at is a lot of what the Commanders are good at. And I think that makes a huge difference. They're very good at capitalizing off of turnovers, which we saw against teams like Philadelphia early in the year. When they forced them to turn the ball over, and they're very good at playing from in front. They run the ball very well when they're in front. They're top 5 in rush attempts, so they want to run. So if they get up early, and they really have a shot to just run the clock out. But then on the flip side of that, if it's a close game, the Lions' pass defense has been abysmal as of recently. They're facing a lot of injuries. So if there's just multiple ways I think that the Commanders can attack the Lions, and I think being multi-dimensional is going to make it a close game. And also, the Commanders haven't lost by a two-score game, like even more than 8 points since the first week, and that was the Tampa Bay who they just beat. So they're miles ahead of where they were then, and they played teams close all year, so I don't see why that would stop now. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think Detroit pulls it out, though.
Okay, Ronan?
I agree. I think that Detroit will win, but I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think the turnover battle matters in this game because the Lions have proven they can throw 5 interceptions and they can still win a game. So I think you can't count the Lions out. I think, Jane Daniels, he's young, and I think they'll put up a fight, but I got the Lions taking it.
I had the Lions, but I have this game right now. I don't know where the line is right now, but I had this game being a 7-point game for one reason. I feel like since Detroit had almost 2 weeks to prepare for either Commanders or the Vikings who they just played, I feel like they're going to throw different disguises for their defense because they know their defense is hurt. And I think that different late movements is going to throw off a rookie. You got to remember, Jaden Daniels is still a rookie. He hasn't seen much ball. Even before, he didn't play much college ball either. So I think Detroit's going to throw different packages in there that's going to screw up Jaden Daniels and make him make mistakes. And then they're just going to take control of the game with the run game for the Lions, which is going to win this for them.
Great. Now, we're running out of time, but really quick, rapid fire, who do we think is going to win the big game, Gabe?
Oh, big one. We're jumping right to the big one. I don't have a reason to not pick Kansas City, so give me the Chiefs. They won 15 wins with Mahomes playing bad.
Okay, Ronan?
I think Detroit's going to take it.
I think Detroit's also going to take it.
Also got Detroit. But we will see. Be sure to join us next week at the same Pioneer time, the same Pioneer channel, and the same Pioneer Sideline.